There's a story that I tell pretty much at the beginning of every 6-week class session I teach. And also often I use it, during corporate workshops and that kind of stuff, one-off events. And, I've told that story maybe 500, 600 times at this point. And people have asked me, why doesn't that get tedious for you? Why don't you get bored of telling that story? Of all the stories that you tell, of all your stories, why doesn't that one, cause you to want to run away when that 6-week class starts up or that workshop starts up and you realize you've got to go back into telling that story again for the 583rd time? And the answer to that question, the reason it never gets boring for me, the reason I'm still connected to that story and I'm still present when I'm telling it, is because I never tell it to the same audience twice. It's never the same experience for me because whenever I'm telling that story, I'm telling it to people who've never heard it before. And this is a part of storytelling that's become more and more interesting to me as I've been working this. I've been doing this for, performing on stage for 20 years and teaching storytelling for coming up on 15 years. And this part of storytelling has become more and more my focus. The part of storytelling that is about connection, that is about that two-way exchange that you're having with the audience. I think a lot of people get into storytelling, and certainly a big part of it for me, this is not wrong, by the way. People get into storytelling thinking of it about in terms of self-expression, of expressing themselves, of telling their stories, right? And that's a very valid reason to get into storytelling. I think that's why we all get into storytelling initially. You're looking to plumb your experiences and mine those things for, what has given your life shape and what has given your life meaning, and to sort of discover those things and craft those things and be able to tell other people about those things and put that out into the world. And that's a very valuable thing that storytelling does. There's a reason, there's a kind of therapy called narrative therapy. And narrative therapy exists for exactly that reason, because learning to tell a story about your experiences gives you a measure of control and understanding over those experiences and gives you a level of self-knowledge that is deeply valuable. And that's a big part of storytelling, and by what I'm about to say, I'm not disparaging that. But as I have gotten deeper into my career, there's another aspect of it that's become more and more fascinating to me. And that is the way in which storytelling is a two-way street. It's a two-way conversation. Even though there's only one person talking, if you're doing it right, it's a conversation. And what I mean by that is that, storytelling it's about being conversational. Storytelling is done best when you're being conversational and present with the audience, right? When you're seeing them, when you are watching them respond, watching them react, and taking that in. And when you are seeing how they respond to various parts of your story, and what parts of your story land for them, what details really hit home for those people, you are connecting with them and you are learning something about them. They're communicating back to you silently. You're watching their facial expressions, you're watching their body language, you're watching what they laugh at, what they gasp at, what they frown about. And all of those things, you are taking that in about those people. You are connecting with them. And you are getting little clues about their experience and the way they respond to your experience and the way you're communicating your experience. And that aspect of connection has become the central focus of what I do. It is what I find most valuable about teaching storytelling and teaching people to tell stories, is that I think it is an avenue for opening yourself up to connect with others. And there is essentially nothing more important to the human animal than being able to connect with other people. It is how we have survived. It is an evolutionary tool. Our ability to connect and communicate with the people around us, from the very earliest times, that has been what has kept us from dying out as a species, is that ability to connect and communicate and be with one another in that way and understand one another. And the levels of communication that works on, from, me talking, telling a story on stage, to the audience member responding and, using their face and their body language to respond to what I'm saying. Like, those are different levels and layers of communication that are all happening simultaneously. And you only get those if you're being present with the audience. You've got to be present, you've got to be conversational, right? That's a huge aspect of storytelling. There are people who take, public speaking courses like Toastmasters and that kind of thing. And Toastmasters is very focused on being perfect, right? Perfectly memorized, no ums, no ahs, no verbal tics, on the script, always saying exactly precisely what you may mean to say, and, with no mistakes. That's not what storytelling or most good public speaking is really about. Most good public speaking is really about being relaxed, being present, being conversational, and being there with the audience, seeing them, taking them in, and responding to them in the way that you change what you're doing, how your body language changes, what you emphasize, how you change your pace, right? All of these things are informed by that live connection. And I think that has become more of an interest to me as a teacher and a storyteller and a performer these days, because I feel like that is so lacking in the modern world. I feel like the intrusion of screens and sort of the post-pandemic world of remote work and remote education and oftentimes remote social engagement and social media and that kind of stuff has really sort of left us with a paucity and a hunger for connection. Really sort of taking people in on all of those levels. And I don't think we quite understand how valuable and important that is, how fulfilling that is, to be responding to someone and communicating with someone on all those different levels, on all of those, the very, very subtle things, not just what someone is saying, but how they're saying it, the tone of voice, their gestures, the way their shoulders come up at some part, or the way they relax at a different part, all of those things, what they laugh at, and sort of making eye contact and being with them. When all of those different levels of communication are taking place, that is such a great feeling for us, because it is deeply, deeply hardwired into us as human animals, right? We need that. Like I said, it's part of our base code. It's part of what has allowed us to survive and thrive and evolve. This is the human animal. The human animal is about connecting with other human beings, or anything. I mean, people are so geared, so built for connection, that you can draw a smiley face and 2 dots on a rock, and we will treat that rock like it has feelings, right? It's just that's the way we are. And I think at its best, at its most fascinating for me at this point in my life and my career, storytelling is about that. It is about making that connection and how fulfilling that connection is. And so that is one of the reasons why I do what I do. And if you've been thinking about learning storytelling, getting involved in storytelling in any way, shape, or form, going to, open mics, going to the Moth, going to do whatever, I encourage you to do it, because, probably like all of us are starved for that connection aspect these days. And, that's probably affecting your life too. And, there's nothing that fixes everything, but storytelling can go a long way to fixing that, that scarcity of connection. So I encourage you, if you've been thinking about it, do it. Get involved.